Emmerdale confirms Bear escape plot as freedom finally beckons. Emmerdale is quietly laying the groundwork for one of its most emotionally charged escape storylines yet, as Bear's path to freedom begins to feel tantalizingly real, and Ray finally starts to break free from Celia's suffocating grip. Celia's latest attempt to sabotage Ray's fragile romance with Laurel Thomas, followed by her cruel humiliation of him, may prove to be a turning point. For perhaps the first time in his life, Ray begins to question the woman who has controlled every aspect of his existence. The realization is subtle, but profound. Celia does not always act in his best interests, and maybe never has. That shift becomes painfully clear when Bear badly gashes his hand while working. Celia barely looks up before coldly ordering Ray to patch him up just enough to keep him useful. In the past, Ray would have obeyed without question. This time, he doesn't. Instead, in a quietly rebellious act, Ray takes Bear to hospital so the wound can be properly cleaned and stitched. It is a moment loaded with significance. This isn't just about an injury, it is about Ray choosing compassion over obedience. Both men remember what happened when Anna's wounds were left untreated, neglect that ultimately cost her life. Ray has grown genuinely fond of Bear, despite Celia sneering that such attachment is pathetic, and he refuses to risk another death on his conscience. At the hospital, Ray warns Bear that he cannot tell staff he works for him. On the spot, they decide to pretend Bear is his father. It is a small lie, but one heavy with emotional meaning. As they wait, Bear notices a sign naming the hospital trust, and realizes they are in Leeds. That single detail lands with real weight. For the first time, Bear understands he is far closer to home than he ever imagined. You can almost see hope flicker in his eyes. Freedom no longer feels impossible. The doctor soon notices that Bear's injuries extend far beyond the fresh wound. There are older marks too, including a badly healed broken arm. Bear has been managing the pain only because Ray keeps him supplied with painkillers, and he is now clearly dependent on them. Together, they offer a convincing story about garden accidents, but the truth hangs heavily between them. In a moment of quiet devastation, Ray realizes that this is the first time in his life he has ever called anyone Dad. That alone speaks volumes about the childhood Celia stole from him. What follows are some of the storyline's most tender scenes. Bear speaks about his own son without naming him, while Ray reflects on how different he was before Celia took him in and reshaped him to suit her needs. Both men are mourning the lives they might have lived. Bear offers Ray genuine fatherly advice, urging him not to abandon his dreams, even now. When Ray admits that his dream includes a woman and a family he could belong to, Bear doesn't hesitate. Thinking of Laurel and her children, Ray allows himself to imagine a future as a stepdad. Bear urges him to keep fighting for that happiness. In a plot dominated by cruelty and control, this quiet exchange feels like its emotional heart. Celia's grip is slipping elsewhere too. Moira has uncovered her fraud and is preparing to confront her alongside Kane. Ray has already defied Celia once by protecting Bear, and he does it again by seeking out Laurel and asking for another chance. When Laurel describes Celia as toxic, Ray doesn't argue. His silence says everything. Celia is already planning to leave the area and rebuild her empire somewhere new. But the question remains, will Ray follow her this time? Bear now knows he is in the same county as his family, and his thoughts keep returning to Paddy. With every secret act of defiance, the walls around him weaken. As Christmas approaches, escape no longer feels like a fantasy. Freedom is within reach, and the consequences for Celia could be devastating. Joe, Kim and a Christmas of devastation at home farm. Elsewhere, Emmerdale is lining up heartbreaking festive drama for Joe Tate, as Kim's world collapses around her. Kim's devotion is brutally tested when Sam Dingle's illegal shoot on home farm spirals into disaster, leaving her trapped in a snare and badly injured, with catastrophic consequences for her beloved horse, Ice. While Kim eventually recovers physically, Ice's injuries are too severe. Joe is forced to make the most agonizing decision of his life and end the animal's suffering. It is an act of mercy, but one Kim cannot forgive. Consumed by grief and fury, Kim turns on Joe, blaming him for the loss that has shattered her. She throws him out of home farm just days before Christmas, leaving him isolated and adrift. Ice was never just a horse to Kim. He was family, and Joe's decision feels like an unforgivable betrayal. Joe's exile marks a bleak festive season. He knows he has pushed Kim too far, yet he remains convinced he did the right thing. That inner conflict defines him, a man who believes his actions are justified even when they leave devastation behind. Kim's rage doesn't stop there. Sam's secret deal to host the illegal shoot cuts deep, driven by desperation for Christmas money. Lydia's involvement wounds her even further. Kim trusted her completely, and that betrayal leaves her utterly alone. Injured and abandoned in the woods while investigating poachers on her own land, Kim is forced to confront just how isolated she has become. As Christmas approaches, home farm feels colder and emptier than ever. So where does this leave Joe? Festive hints suggest his Christmas will be anything but ordinary. Forced out of his comfort zone and spending the day somewhere unexpected, Joe faces a very different celebration. Yet amid the rejection, a piece of genuinely happy news is heading his way. Does Joe deserve it? This is a man with a long list of sins, from attempting to steal a kidney to save his own life, to manipulating those closest to him and betraying Billy through his affair with Dawn. Still, Emmerdale seems to be flirting with the idea of redemption. Joe is a deeply flawed anti-hero, and this surprise Christmas twist may be the first step towards change. Or perhaps just another complication in a life that never stays calm for long. Exclusive. Emmerdale teases huge Jai Sharma story after Coronation Street crossover. Emmerdale is also setting the stage for major drama for Jai Sharma, as star Chris Bisson teases a huge new storyline sparked by the historic Coronation Street crossover next month. Jai is among the 41 characters drawn into the hour-long event, which brings the two soaps together for the first time ever. While his role during the multi-vehicle crash itself may appear low-key, it is what follows that truly matters. Bosses have warned viewers to expect death, destruction and fear, but for Jai, the real danger begins in the aftermath. His involvement triggers a chain of events that sends him down an increasingly precarious path, even if he escapes the immediate chaos relatively unscathed. Jai is not at the center of the carnage. He isn't screaming for help or fighting for his life on the tarmac. Yet a final reveal makes it clear that something significant has shifted. That quiet cliff edge is far more unsettling than any explosion. With tensions already simmering between Jai and Caleb, and trust in short supply, the fallout from the crossover could push their rivalry into far darker territory. When pride, money and resentment collide in Emmerdale, the consequences are never small. The suggestion that Jai may soon be in real peril changes everything. It signals that the crossover is not a one-off spectacle, but the spark for a much bigger arc, one that could test Jai's resilience, his relationships, and possibly even his survival. Jai may walk away from the crash, but the danger is only just beginning.